Perfect. It is recording. So hi, I am Drake. This is Ohio. It is September. It is the Mises Caucus business meeting. And fuck the mandates, fuck Biden, fuck the government. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. You can all go home.
Here.
So the bad news, the mandates, there's a few. There's the mask mandate out of Columbus. There's obviously the big national ones. The good news is a lot of people are taking the mandates a lot less seriously than they were. Like, I've been to a few places in Columbus and they have the mask signs on the door and you walk in and no one cares. This isn't true everywhere. Costco was a bit more pushy than the rest, but it's mostly been going pretty well. And then there's a pretty good chance these things won't shake out that well for them in the courts. And of course, we're going to do everything we can to push it along. What kind of spot are we in? We're in a pretty good one. Ohio has actually a specific clause in the state constitution about legal autonomy, which I need to look up because I don't remember it off the top of my head. Actually, Riley, you'd probably know this better than I would. Do you know that? If you could look it up while I'm talking.
I was actually thinking about doing that because I wasn't sure what one you're referring to. I saw your email and you referenced a different thing that I thought you might have been talking about. So I'll be reading for a moment, but.
So I might even just ask Michael Sweeney and then we have a lot of people that are actually doing effective work outside the Mises Caucus. I know there's a few that have been pushing really hard. There is a war going on in Gehenna between Michael Sweeney and the school board. I think he's going back to their meetings today, or is it other day? And last time they tried to kick out everybody who was not wearing masks off public property, and he has been putting out open letters to the chief of police and is going back, and he will not be leaving this time. And so on. I know in Knox County, I'm blanking on his name. Are you in this call? Person in Knox County does all the organizing, does great work. It's Tom. Okay, give me 1 second to pull up his name. I am terrible with names and I am not giving him credit and he deserves it. Chat. And it is Tom Grosso. I actually can't pronounce his name. He has been doing great stuff out in, I believe it is Knox County where he is. Is that I'm mixed up? I always get mixed up on which counties people are in. But he has been going out to the school board and shaking stuff up and actually gotten a couple mask mandates returned so far. In terms of actual bigger level legal stuff, like funding mandates specifically, one, the Constitution stuff. Two, we actually have a lawyer on hand. You're a full lawyer, Riley. We believe in you. That makes you a lawyer.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Okay. Well, you're the seniors at your law firm said that they are willing to look into potentially take on cases if an employer mandates vaccinations, that they won't necessarily win. It's very dependent on individual circumstance, but there are other ones as well that are challenges on legal grounds. And on top of that, I sent out podcasts, which is a different libertarian lawyer, but the 10th Amendment Center is putting together legislation on the county and city level to not allow cops to, their local cops to enforce the mandates and so on. So there's a lot happening.
Hey, Drake, I posted a link in the chat. I think it's the right one that you're talking about, but let me know if you saw something different.
Yes, I believe that is it. The no federal, state, or local law or rule shall compel directly or indirectly any person, employer, or healthcare provider to participate in a healthcare system. That was the one. Someone was telling me that they think it can be interpreted in a way as to defend us a little bit. But there's a lot of avenues that this is going on, and there's a decent chance that it's just going to get totally rejected at the state level anyways. And honestly, what I've been hearing from the people that know much more than I do is they have said is, as much as you can, just play defense, because if it keeps lasting, we're probably going to come out in the right. So if you own a business This is not legal advice. I cannot give any. Riley will not give any unless you pay him what, $500 an hour.
Well, we usually work on contingency, but I have to take you as a client first. So that's the
Okay.
trickier part.
Pay him lots of money. He'll then tell you things, but until then he won't. But if OSHA shows up and says, pay this fine, tell them, come back with a warrant, and they actually had to go and get a warrant and investigate you, and it takes them forever. Like OSHA, they don't have enough manpower to investigate things. They're all dependent on people playing nice. And same with companies, just say no. Obviously, I don't know your personal situation. If you are 100% reliant on your employer and you have kids with terrible medical conditions, like you got to do what you got to do. But to the degree that you can, mass non-compliance seems to be the strategy to go for. And we aren't the only ones going for it. And of course, there are many states that have already said they will not enforce this. Although I don't believe if Ohio is one of them.
I thought they were, but I could be wrong.
Ohio, I'm pretty sure Ohio's like AG is with the other states that are suing against the mandate.
Okay.
I know DeWine said that he didn't like what Biden said, but that doesn't mean he's not going to enforce it.
Yeah. Well, Biden, DeWine's terrible, but the governor's a little bit better.
Yeah, that was the weakest statement I've ever read. I don't like it.
Hey, it's
I don't like what you said. Okay, let's
But
do
I'm
something
gonna let you
about
do
it.
it anyways if you really want to.
it's probably better than Kasich though, because God, Kasich. I didn't realize how bad he was at the time, and then I go back and I think I need to look up the quote sometime about the one where he said, "God tells me that I should support like the Obamacare in Ohio," something like that.
Wasn't he like one of the few governors that was good on the budget? Am I misremembering that? I think that was like his only redeeming quality is like he didn't overspend or something.
Yeah, he's Bill Weld.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, don't we have a balanced budget amendment in Ohio? So it's not like they can really go.
Yeah,
crazy.
I think you're right, Nate.
So yeah, but that was kind of what I wanted to lay out and then just talk through it and make the plans for what we can do. Because I mean, when we have a piece of legislation that has been verified by people that know what they're talking about, that when passed would kind of insulate your city or county, that's where we can really start going around. Because the nice thing with Ohio is geographically, it is majority against all of this. If you're in Columbus, if you're in Cincinnati, if you're in Cleveland, you're kind of screwed. But if we just take the piece of legislation and go on a road show to every tiny town mayor, we can get 80% of Ohio to be legally insulated from the jab. But I don't know. I do not know that much more about this stuff than you guys do. So, and I've given you most of what I have. So I'm just kind of opening the floor. What do you guys want to talk with about this? Do you have questions about what we're going to do? What kind of stuff do you feel like you're comfortable organizing and doing and putting on the lines?
But do you have the legislation already?
No, it is in progress.
Okay, when you do have it, can you email it to me?
I will, 100%. I know what's a little bit. Forget the lawyer that runs Liberty Weekly, but he said he was collaborating with 10th Amendment Center. I should put out a bulletin about it. Actually, I think I have that person on Facebook. Government Center updates.
If I can take the floor, I at least might have some thoughts that'd be worth sharing.
Go for it.
All right. So like Drake had said, we've been working on this because both the partners it's a small law firm we work at. And so both the partners are concerned about this kind of stuff. So they've actually, like, my job partially for like the past month has actually been like, we've been doing a Manhattan project on if we can come up with something. And like what Drake was saying, I don't know, like I'm cautiously optimistic about like the federal challenge to Joe Biden's OSHA vaccine mandate scheme, mostly because like they can technically do it wrong and they're kind of rushing. So I think there might be something like there that ends up catching, but it's like, I think they lose on more of a technicality than on the principle. Because at least as far as like the history goes, some of you may be familiar by now, like there's an old Supreme Court case from 1905 that's called Jacobson versus Massachusetts, that the Supreme Court said that it's within a state's police power to have mandatory vaccination. That was for smallpox. And then if anyone's familiar with the judgment at Nuremberg, I'm pretty sure the case is Buck versus Bell. And if I miscited that, that's my bad. But it's a case where in like 1927, I think, all over the American Supreme Court again, they cite the mandatory vaccination case as support for the forced sterilization of a woman who has mental disabilities. So there's a really good humanitarian pedigree behind this kind of stuff that you may all just appreciate to know. In a fun, like interesting off thing, my coworker found a 1960, I don't know, it was 2 or 8, but either of those, a scarily late case where an Ohio judge ordered the sterilization of a woman under similar circumstances, and like we couldn't find an appeal, so I guess it just stuck. So
I know
like-
California was doing it as late as 2008 as well.
2008, that's insane.
But
But
yeah, they had a big issue. They were doing it to female criminals. Yeah.
so like I guess that's my point, to just say, like, I don't know, I don't put a ton of trust in the legal system because it's got there's a lot of bad stuff back there. It's also, that's just a good note too, if you're ever chatting with people about it, to be like, yeah, that's the history of forced vaccination, is it literally did lead to sterilization. The famous quote is 3 generations of idiots is enough, the Supreme Court wrote, and then immediately cited the forced vaccination case. So like, that's what the history on that is. But our part of the scheme that our law firm was doing is we're trying to focus on more like some like maybe like using the statutes in the regulatory state as a way to like throw a mess at people, which normally is very anti-libertarian and people can get mad at me, but we need to, I don't know, I'd rather have this conversation at a bar than over Zoom. But to kind of basically make people pay for enacting a vaccine mandate, or make it undesirable to do it, is a scheme that we had afoot. And that's basically kind of how we're floating around, is we have some ideas for regulatory ways that the vaccine mandate might violate, like the American with Disabilities Act, or some wage and hour laws or things like that, which is what our firm is familiar with prosecuting. But and I kind of think that's a neat, like, idiosyncratic approach. And I guess, I don't know, like beyond that, like that's what I like, because I've also been following, I imagine a bunch of you guys have too, and this will be the last thing I'd say, like, I think it's HB 248, if I'm getting the number right, that was the anti-vaccine mandate bill that is getting nuked by the Ohio House leadership, and they have a discharge petition out. And I mean, like, I don't know, maybe it'd be worth like reaching out to your representatives if you think they might be willing to sign a discharge petition for that. But like, the state seems to be organizing itself against any effort to try to stop this. So it may, like, I don't know, it seems like it's either got to be real local, and I don't know, I get scared if the state's on the other people's side. But so that's my 2 cents, but I've kind of been thinking a lot about this stuff lately. So I appreciate being able to yell over everyone in the libertarian chat. It's a particular honor.
I'm asking out of pure ignorance. I haven't been able to start going to city council meetings where I live, but I don't know if there's anything we can say or do. I know mine meets like at the first and third Monday of every month. But if there's anything that we can show up and be like, hey, voice our opinions, bring any sort of writing in there or anything like that. I mean, if we want to start local, that would be the first place to start.
So let me verify. I think we had pieces of stuff previously, but I'm not sure. This is just so new that we don't have a lot of things ready yet.
Right.
So we'd had here, let me sharing a screen. I'm actually Facebook messaging the person I know is working on 10th Amendment Center of like, hey, how's it going? Is this the one? Yeah, there was we had an example of a city that had said they are not going to enforce some of this stuff, but I don't know if it's. I'm sharing this as an example. Anyone can view. So I'll drop this in chat. This is just an example of what a different city has done earlier on during COVID as just like a, hey, fuck off, we're not listening to your mandates. But it depends on the city. Like there are a couple of cities where they are talking about putting in mask mandates or talking about doing their own local restrictions or curfews, whatever else. So you going there is important because someone needs to stop things that they're doing. Then there are other ones where you can say, hey, we like, if nothing else, you can show up and say, and get a read on them for how they feel and let them know other cities are going to be nullifying this and they're going to write a piece of legislation for you that then you can just copy. So you don't need to think through how to do it. As long as you're against this, we will provide for you a way to stop it and you won't be the only one. So like showing up won't hurt. Actually, no, I'll say this. Showing up and not being an autistic libertarian won't hurt. If you show up and be, God, I'm doing the phone calls of people to get for outreach, especially for the Central Committee stuff. And the guy I was talking to yesterday spent like 35 minutes on the phone trying to tell me how really socialism and libertarian are just perfect together. And he needed to get off the newspaper he started from disability leave so that he won't have a conflict of interest, but he's going to get the Communist Party on board supporting the Libertarian Party because capitalism is the real socialism.
Does he want to borrow any of my Mises books? Like I will send them to him free of charge.
I told him get on the Mises. The Mises Institute has a podcast feed of free libertarian audiobooks. I said, that's the.
There you go, Derek.
See all my books in the other room. But I would, if any one of you want to listen to more libertarian audiobooks and don't want to pay, Mises Institute literally has a free audiobook podcast feed.
And human action is free for download.
If the socialists don't read them all up before us, because they're so interested.
That's true. I didn't follow much of what he was saying.
See, so anyway, you're saying those audiobooks are socialized, right? They're
yes.
They're redistributed.
So I'm thinking of you're saying like the conversation was about like the vaccine mandates, which I suppose as far as strategies go, it's either what's lawyer guy, what's your name, buddy? I don't know.
Riley, what questions we fielded?
Okay. I didn't want to just call everyone like, I don't know, white t-shirt lawyer. But like Riley, what he's doing is like he's in his own wheelhouse there. So I think it's like that's one strategy that makes sense. Anyone who's in one of those companies that has 100 employees or more kind of has their own, you can draw your own line in the sand. For people that aren't, I guess the other, like personally, because I'm not in that situation, it doesn't affect me. I think more of the mask mandate that returned to Columbus, like that's the more, obviously it's not the more egregious thing, but it's the more noticeable thing for me. And I would just point out, maybe I'm preaching to the choir here. You might already all have your own ways of doing this, but as far as the mask mandate goes, I found that most of the time you can find places that are cool and you don't ask for permission, because then you're just setting yourself up for failure. Just walk into a grocery store, mind your own business and leave. And I kind of find it's like, if someone gets in your face, like just look at them like they're crazy. Don't like freak out and do the autistic libertarian thing. Well, I have a right to this and that. It's like, just look at them like they're crazy, because they're fucking crazy. They really are. Just be like, wow, that's what you think. Yeah. I literally had someone in the thick of the mask mandate. Then in a Kroger, I had my AirPods in here, and I was walking around a Kroger. I was like looking at my grocery list on my phone. I wasn't listening to anything, but this dude like 6 inches from my face was like snapping in front of my face, and he was like, "Hey, put your mask on." Like I couldn't hear him or something, and I mean, I was just shocked. Like I didn't even yell at him or nothing. I just like looked at him like, "What is your problem?" And I mean, I think as far as changing people's hearts and minds, like there was 5 or 10 people around that were pretty uncomfortable in whatever aisle area we were in, and they were looking over like, is shit going down? What's up? And then the guy just left in frustration. But I really don't think those people who might have been, let's say, agnostic on the issue, I don't think they're going to forget that crazy little interaction that I and that guy had. And when you just present yourself as the reasonable person, I think that's one of the best things we can do, even though it's very day to day. I kind of go out of my way to go into coffee shops and restaurants and grocery stores and be the reasonable non-mask wearing person. So that's my input.
I would absolutely agree with you, Rex. And just from like back from when I was a statist and, you know, kind of learning about different stuff, the people that convinced me the most weren't the ones that called me a fucking statist and this and that. It was, hey, think about things this way, or what about this point? It was the calm ones that would make me think about, oh, maybe there is a point to this libertarian thing. So I definitely agree with that.
And there is stuff happening and it's just we're not plugged into all of it because it's some Republicans, it's some random people. Moms Against the Wine has been doing a bunch around Columbus, and like I have indirect connections, but not actually on their email list or anything. And it's like there is stuff happening, and part of it is we're just going to ride their bandwagon and help out, and part of it's stuff that we're going to do from scratch. But then definitely it is be the better informed, more reasonable voice in the room, and it works. It really works. I wish it worked more, but
Sure, we can't just give them wedgies and shove them in lockers. I mean,
I wish. Ooh.
Are there lockers at most grocery stores?
display
Right.
case will work.
Can I like second, I guess, some of that? I was reading perhaps some of the rest of you have. I'm putting in the chat here because there's a link to like the essay, The Powerless by Vaclav Havel. It's been making the rounds. I feel people maybe have already heard of it. And if not, like it's really interesting to read. It's about a Czech dissident who's talking about like the collapse of like Soviet Czechoslovakia essentially, and how a lot of it is like simple, like I guess the power of compliance, that everyone just accepts things passively because everyone's complying. And then the power of like simple non-conformity, how it can be shocking when you're not. I feel like we've probably all in intervals had that experience with either masking like Rex was talking about, or perhaps somewhere else. But I think it is 80 pages. However, it's also on YouTube. You can listen to it on double speed. But I think it offers some interesting points to think about, like what kind of, I don't know, good actions can be taken either as individuals or as a group, since this is a very asymmetric balance of power thing here, and we functionally are powerless in this situation.
You said that was the power of powerlessness?
Or the power of the powerless.
Of the powerless, okay.
Yeah. And there's also a disappointing novel of the same title, which I kept bumping into when I was trying to find it originally. So don't read that unless you want like a sad story about like a kid who's sick or something, which I mean, like that's okay too, but I'm sad enough as it is. So.
That is true though, man. Like, I mean, I really think like you just don't move hearts and minds by strong arming people in any way, like physically or like, what would you say, like conversationally, verbally, it's just letting people come to their own conclusions, letting them see the stage in front of them, just kind of walking up like you don't know what a mask is. You just walk in a store like, where's your mask? I'm like, what? Really? Like, oh, that's kind of weird. And I also found, if any of you guys are in Columbus, I was like looking into this because, it's just the mayor now. DeWine lost his power. That's my theory of why he's like suddenly pretending to be a good Republican now. He's like, oh, I don't know about these mayors who are bringing about the mask mandate. It's like, shut up, dude. You can't do it anymore. That's the only reason you're.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I don't know about Biden doing this thing. It's like, yeah, if you could, you would. So obviously. But anyway, Columbus, the city has a mask mandate, but not Dublin, not Upper Arlington, not Westerville. So if your local area has a mask mandate, double check the news and do some, I don't know, Google searches with quotes and actually find out if your city has one, because it turns out mine doesn't. But coffee shops are still pretty liberal.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should mute myself while typing. Yeah, if you can't tell, I've been pulled 8 ways from Sunday with all this stuff going on.
Greg, do you have like a list of like those? I know you said some of the events are from the Republicans and some of them are like Moms Against DeWine. Is there any way like I can keep track of those?
I Googled it and I found freeohionow.com, and that looked like a group that's trying to aggregate where they are. But other than that, I don't really know. And
Go on
also, half
Facebook.
their events are like shit. Like half their
On
events
Facebook,
are.
that's where I found Moms Against DeWine was on Facebook. And if you type in literally DeWine, you find a few groups. There's like people against, or there's Ohio against excessive quarantine or excessive health orders. There's like 5 different groups. And Drake's right. Some of them are kind of awful.
I'm looking
I
at this.
Let me
observed the
check
protest
my
last year.
email. I
Here's-
used to be part of Free Ohio, so I'm gonna
Free
look
Ohio
through
now, yep.
Yeah, I'm seeing
I
here's
went
the
to one of
rally
their
against
protests.
the mask, and then here's their next rally, GOP Back the Blue rally.
Well, yeah.
Well,
No,
it's just I have like a whole group chat of people on Twitter who are from Ohio, like all over Ohio, and they want to do things, but they don't know what to do or where to go. And
So-
I've kind of just been like throwing things at them as I find them, but I don't know.
so I'm talking to that lawyer person right now, and he's apparently going to be putting together a webinar that we're going to get the legislation from him. We're going to be getting it from him nationally. So like there will probably not be space for all of you in the webinar, unfortunately, because I know every other organizer for state level wants this.
Well, if you're there, is that enough?
Yeah, no, I will pass everything along to you, and I'll want to get it recorded as well.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Because as much as I know that you hate Twitter, it's been very helpful in connecting with people, and they just don't know what to do. Like, I don't know if they're even part of the LPO, but they're
Yeah,
definitely like itching to change things in their current cities. You know?
for
Mhm.
sure. What is our Twitter doing? Does someone watch that?
No, whoever's running it is seriously killing it. They're doing a really good job.
I love them. I don't
Yeah.
know who they are, but they're
Caleb, is that
I
fabulous.
you
thought
that
it was
runs
you,
it? Are you-
Drake.
No, it's not. It's
Okay, I
not.
thought it was
Thank you
you.
so much.
Who is it?
I will take all the credit for that.
Okay, perfect. I knew the
Carl.
name started with a C. Okay, I'm sorry, Carl.
No, Carl, dude, you've been awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're best friends. I love it.
And if someone else wants keys to it and you're trustworthy, I just give out keys to Twitter.
Sounds like Carl's
I see
crushing
Twitter's
it. So
not
let's
real.
keep him in
Yeah,
check.
Carl's
I'd
doing
say let
great.
Carl have it.
yeah.
Okay.
If you ever need to tap out, Carl, just message one of us and we can take over for a week or whatever you need.
I fully appreciate it.
I think it
What
would
Twitter
be-
is that? Is that Mises Caucus, Ohio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll enter in the chat.
It is a good point, though, that y'all were bringing up. That there's a lot of people who are just like, all right, I'm ready. Like, give me some direction here, you know?
Yeah, I don't think they're.
And
I don't think all of them are even members, but they care and they are on board and they want to. You know, I think like one person I know is like on the verge of losing their job, or they're just not getting paid because they can't get a test, and it's just like they're fed up. And I'm like, I don't know where to point. I want to help, but I don't know how to help.
Right.
that's a tricky one. I kind of don't like a lot of protests because it kind of comes back to that whole like just, you know, it's like you have this pent up frustration and you want to release it. And so you go like, I'm going to yell, and it's not about what works. That's just, you know, trying to get your emotion out. So I go like, if you have all these people all about Ohio, is there anything that they can come together and do that is actually, you know, efficacious in any meaningful way? Does it move the needle at all?
Here's the problem though, is emotion actually works, and the left has been using this for decades now. That's why they're winning. They don't.
I wouldn't say emotion doesn't work. I would never say that. But I mean like riots and just like, I don't
Well-
think Black Lives Matter protests.
Well, terrorism is a
yeah,
tactic because it works. I mean, you know, they wouldn't do it if it didn't work. Here's the thing. I was part of Free Ohio. My issue with Free Ohio, their protest was it just turned into a Trump rally.
Exactly. I went to one of them, and it was
Yeah.
like, really, you're going to do this? You're going to alienate all the non-Trump
Yep.
people that would be with? Okay.
Because I was just full on waving the black flag at that point, and I was like, yeah, this isn't helping right now. So yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people, they don't know what to do right now.
Well, I'm like encouraging them to start showing up to their city councils, like the meetings. And I told them, you know, my plan with Newton Falls and everything, and they're on board with that. But I think a lot of them are in big cities like Cleveland, where they're not gonna make a lot of change, which sucks. But
Oh, Kennedy,
know.
you mind if I mention Saturday then real quick?
oh yeah,
Yeah, we're all gonna be it's gonna be kind of an informal thing. It's not really an event, but I know Kennedy and Eric are gonna be at my place on Saturday, and we're gonna go walk around town to show them Newton Falls. So if anybody else is gonna be anywhere near Newton Falls, around 4
Where the hell
o'clock
is Newton Falls?
it's
by
Trumbull
Youngstown.
County. It's outside Warren, Ohio.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm gonna show them around town. Anybody who wants to stop by, feel free. Starts around 4. So
Well, because my plan is to move there and, you know, take over the city.
Peacefully.
Oh, we have Drew on board. Okay, perfect. Now Drew can answer all your questions about how to show up at city councils.
Oh,
Oh,
perfect.
perfect. Try my best. I'm driving at the moment, so bear with me.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Feel free.
Oh.
What, so I guess real basic question, what is city council etiquette? I mean, I'm sure you can't go in there and talk however you want. Is there,
Why not?
Sure you can.
I mean, can you can get kicked out of these things though, right?
Be
Only if
ungovernable.
you wear
If
a
you
tank
wanna-
top, Caleb.
If you want to file a lawsuit, feel free. I mean, they all have their own rules which dictate how they do it. So I would recommend reaching out to the clerk of council and requesting a copy of their latest adopted rules. That will give you a guideline. But even then, like for my city council, they specifically note in their city ordinance, which is for disrupting a public meeting. And they've tried to use that on me before for vulgar language that I normally don't use that in those areas, but you know, they kind of pissed me off, so I did. And they tried to quote that city ordinance and say, hey, you can't do that. Well, I also have read that city ordinance, and the first line of that one says that you're guilty if you do something in order to disrupt the meeting. So vulgar language in and of itself doesn't violate that. They thought it did. And they asked the law director and the police chief who was there, and they both said it's, you know, Drew's First Amendment right to speak that way. So I mean, there is a proper decorum which I recommend using. You know, not everyone can get away with being as brash as I am, but I mean, it's First Amendment, man. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
And
and that would be my go-to.
Yeah, it's public property. I guess the more it's you dress nice and you talk nice because you want them to play ball with you, you don't have to.
Yeah.
So when you show up and they're assholes and try to tell you to leave the building because you're not masked, they can't tell you to leave the building because you're not masked unless there is like a city law in place requiring masks. Otherwise, you're allowed to be in there. And let us know. And when one of you start on your progress, like you say, hey, this is the meeting that we're going to talk about it. We need people to show up. Let me know, and I will let everyone know, and we will show up. Like, if you're within an hour and I can make it, I will be there. Don't care how big your town is.
So this is like, I'm kind of new to this element. So like, it's all very nebulous to me. Drew, can you maybe tell a story about going into some city council and like what happened, how you would go about it maybe?
Well, yeah, I mean, it really depends on what your goal is. There's the city next to me. They wanted to pass transient rental legislation. So I went to that because I'm completely against that because they're restricting people's private properties. So I did some research. I watched how the whole thing started. I went back and watched their old meetings for a couple months where they brought this up. So I was very well informed. And when I went there to talk, and it was right in the middle of COVID, and I was the only person from the public there. And I went to talk, and they didn't agree with some of the things I had to say, and I started citing back to them, verbatim things that they had said in the past, which contradicted each other, and some of the things they said that which were illegal and they weren't allowed to do. And luckily, at that meeting, their law director is actually pretty smart, and he's like, I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Worley. He has a valid point. But I mean, as far as what to do, is it really all depends on what your goal is. If you're fighting some specific law that they're trying to pass, if there's something that you want to get on the books that's not on there, you can reach out to me for all that stuff. I'll help you guys out. And like Drake said, I mean, if you're within 2 hours of me and I can move my schedule around, I'll come. I love that shit. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And like Drew said, literally, if you're at a town under 20,000, expect to have on average one guest in a town council meeting per 10,000 people in the town. If we can get 10 people to show up, they have never seen that large and angry a crowd. If we get 10 people to show up, we can bully them. We can swirly them afterwards, and they will pass the piece of legislation we tell them to.
Yeah, especially if we all show up wearing Hawaiian shirts.
Exactly.
Sleeveless Hawaiian shirts. Yeah, my town's 50,000, so it's still on the smaller side.
We need 6 people.
Yeah, 6 with a +1.
Yeah, but no. So Rex, how does that feel? How did you feel like you got an answer? Do you still have more to answer? Raise more questions?
I mean, that makes sense. So it was interesting because I mean, it sounds, Drew, like you were on top of things and you heard this issue coming up, whereas I'm more inclined to not pay attention until oops, my audio dropped for a second. I'm more inclined to not pay attention until what's his name, Ginther, does an executive order for masks and stuff, and there's not exactly a council meeting for that. He just says rah 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 in front of a microphone, and they don't even have the legislation written now. It was just, he just said it, and they said, well, we'll write it next week, but it's in effect now. So yeah, I guess you guys are thinking more long term of something's come. So is this more defense or offense or both? Like you're trying to bring something up?
It can be both, and just to touch on what you said right there, we could still have mass non-compliance. If we roll up in their meeting 20, 30 deep, all of us not wearing masks when they have that mask mandate, I mean, I think that makes a statement. I'd be willing to do that.
Sure.
No, and it definitely is. It depends. There are some cases where it is just going to be defense. Like in Knox County, what Tom did is he heard, because he's a parent, that the school board was going to pass a mask mandate. So then he organized people and brought them out to that meeting to try to shut it down. But then there are other, he's been really successful. He's amazing. He's amazing. All props to him. But there's another one that they had preemptively gone in and said, hey, we don't know if you're considering this, but we don't want you to, and here's why. And they were like, oh, we're so glad. We were kind of on the fence and we're worried about what people would think. And now we're hearing if this is what you guys want, we'll do what you want. It depends on the town. We're going to show, if there's some 5,000 person small red town, middle of nowhere. They want what we have. And if you show up and say, hey, you people that are trying to resist this tyranny, you have support, other towns doing the same thing, and here is legislation that you didn't even know you needed. And they're just like, oh, I didn't know how to write legislation. Thank you. Sign it into law. Because that's what Michael Heist did with marijuana in his city. And for mushrooms also, like every person, including the chief of police, already wanted marijuana legalized, but no one had done it.
But like, what if like Newton Falls only has 5,000 people? Okay,
Mhm.
don't you think they might like notice that we're all outsiders?
I mean,
Maybe.
sure. I mean, I don't like.
Does it matter?
100% they will.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will. No, it's a public meeting. We're all welcome there.
Yeah, so
Oh.
anyone is welcome. Like you don't have to be. It's a bigger statement if you're from the community, but you don't have to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I live literally next door to City Hall. So if a bunch of us rolled in,
Yeah.
trust me, the mayor knows who I am because I sent them a big stack of Henry Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson, and I've emailed him multiple times. So
See, the
yeah,
Gahanna
they're gonna
Mayor's
know who I
Rotary
am.
Club, but I'm on the email list for their meetings. I never know which meetings are the actual important ones because they just have so many meetings.
But yeah, I've watched a couple of the meetings on YouTube. The problem is they start at 6:30. I'm usually home at 7. So I'm coming in late usually. But hey, if I get fired for not taking the vaccine soon, I'll have plenty of time to go to town council meetings. So
That's that positive outlook we're looking for.
yeah,
There you go.
white pill. I can do more bureaucratic nonsense. It'll be great.
And
Feel free to show up late too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Last Monday, I went to the school board meeting first to speak out against mask mandates at the school. And I went straight from there to the city council meeting, and council was already done, but they were in executive session. So I sat there and waited for them to open back up. And when they opened back up, they saw me. They were like, "Oh shit!
Yeah.
We thought we got a night off with no Drew." And there's a mandate now for that building that regardless of vaccination status, you have to wear a mask. And here's all these assholes sitting up on their thrones, not wearing a mask because they were in executive session. They thought that no one was there.
Oh, actually,
got
that's
them
a
all on
fair
film.
warning. With executive session, that's something that'll often happen for committees like this. They'll generally be open to the public, but just for executive session, only the officers are there and they get to kick everyone out for a bit. So
Yeah, whoever's invited.
Yeah, if they say they're doing that, it is legitimate. They're not just kicking you out, but they have to end it eventually. So you just wait outside and join back in.
Yeah, they have to open it back up for you, and because they used to not do that for us until I threatened them. Not that I was going to sue them. I just said, hey, you're opening yourself up to litigation. You have to open the meeting back up and then adjourn. And they all put their masks back on before they turned the camera on and adjourned the meeting. But
did you get a picture or video?
the whole thing's on video, my man.
No, but I mean, of them having their mask off in executive session.
Oh yeah, I had it right in my front pocket of my Hawaiian shirt.
Perfect.
They didn't even know I was filming them.
Yeah. So
But yeah, I brought that up just to say,
I think that
feel
is one of
free
the
to show
big
up late.
that is one of the big things I wanted to say here was this general vague white pill that we're hitting on a lot of fronts, and a lot of them seem to be bearing fruit. There are a number of towns that are nullifying this. There are some companies that are resisting. If your company does resist, they have good odds. If your company tries to force you to do it, you have decent odds of suing them and making even more money. I don't know if that's true, Riley. Don't hold me to, no one hold me to that quote. And yeah, you're not alone. All the crazies are out there, but there are as many more people as crazies. Like after all this propaganda, and it's still what, like 40-something% of people haven't been vaccinated after all the propaganda. I don't know. This is as scary as it is. It's like a cornered animal. I'm feeling good. Actually, what is the percent? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's why I think they're escalating things the way that they are. It's because they're scared they're not hitting the numbers they need to hit.
Mhm.
They're not getting the compliance that they expected.
Yeah, I think you're right, Drake. I think it is just a little over 60.
Ohio's 50, but I think US is 60.
And I would even say of the vaccinated population, how many of them felt the social pressure, the work pressure, so on and so forth to get it in the first place? Like how many of them were actually willing to? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know people at my
64.
work that were going around and like peer pressuring other people to get it, because we had a vaccine event at our work a month or so ago.
Okay.
I just saw a billboard that said it was like they're paying $100 for people to get vaccines. Like the incentives are. I mean, yeah, and like of course there's those families that's like, I won't see you. Don't come and visit unless you're vaccinated.
So I did just double check it. So 73% of adults have had at least one dose. With Ohio being at still 37% unvaccinated. So Ohio has been one of the bigger resistor states, which is nice for us. And then here's the nice thing. All the people that were vaccinated, like I know a lot of people that were vaccinated because they legitimately like believed they needed it, but they're against the mandatory thing, or they got one dose, and then they had COVID. Now they don't care anyways, or they think the 2 doses are enough, and now the 3rd mandated dose are enough. So I'd say make sure not to turn away the unvaccinated people, because like as soon as the new rule goes into effect, all of a sudden 90% of Americans are not vaccinated again because they don't have their 5.5 dose and a special bow and a vaccine selfie and everything. Oh yeah, no, there have been crazy stuff. Sarah Silverman, is she Democrat or conservative? I get mixed up.
She's Democratic.
Oh,
Liberal as hell.
Democrat is
Liberal
She's
as hell.
horrible.
This is how much mainstream media I watch. Okay, here's my big white pill. Have you guys been watching the Nicki Minaj stuff?
Yeah.
Yes.
She is full blast against this shit. So what is it? Her cousin in Jamaica got it, and then his like dick broke or something, and then she tweeted that, and then Twitter starts censoring her, and people are coming out to protest the CDC en masse because they went against Nicki.
If we can weaponize the pop star fans, that is huge.
Yeah, because as they get crazier, more and more
so
people
dirty.
turn against them.
Just
It
wait
does,
until
but
we
I'll
get the
take it.
K-pop stands.
So what I'm hearing is WAP is going to be the anthem of the anti-vaccine.
No. I'm out.
Yeah, that may be a bridge too far.
I'm trying to think of what acronym would stand for something.
Is that
about
even Nicki?
vaccines.
Isn't that the other
No,
one?
that was
Pfizer.
Cardi
Oh, Cardi
B.
B. Okay, this is
Yeah.
Cardi B is fucking hilarious, but yeah, Nicki.
I don't follow the news. I don't listen to music. I don't know anything. Okay. Yeah. What else did you guys want to know? What else did you guys want to hear?
How likely is New Hampshire to go forward with their secession?
Texas first.
But didn't New Hampshire actually put forth?
Oh, did they actually have on the ballot yet? Ooh.
Wait, I don't think it's on the ballot yet, but they put forth like the bill to
They've
put it
got
on
like
the ballot.
80% support for it, I know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was
Do it,
looking at
boys.
houses in New
Do
Hampshire
it.
a couple nights ago, just for fun.
I was really like, oh, I want to move to New Hampshire. And then I'm like, you know what? I realized how valuable it is to have your family around, like extended family support so much. If they leave though, I'm going to rethink it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Just a little.
Your family should move to New Hampshire too. Like, easy.
Yeah. But no, I know Texas is doing stuff and all this, and like, hey, it's the time.
Who was the guy that was on Tom Woods, I think last week? that was
Yes,
talking
the
about
Texit guy. And that was great. And that is true that like, hey, 40 years ago, or no, 60 years ago, there were what, 50-ish countries in the world, and now there's 200.
Yeah.
Natural. Get a divorce.
Mhm.
Oh no, I want to make a joke, but it'll be too meta for you all.
Guys,
To quote Dave
libertarians.
Smith, we need a national divorce. No,
He didn't release a podcast Tuesday. I'm wondering if he got on somebody's big platform or what.
one just came out today.
just
I
dropped.
saw it drop.
Yeah, but
It was
it's
a good
usually
episode.
Saturday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and I think he missed Tuesday. So I was hoping
He misses a third of his episodes. So
he does, and he always promises he'll make it up to us.
Yeah. I love Dave Smith. I listen to all of his content. Apparently he is, like most comedians, just not, he's hard to book. He's very hard to book. The New York organizer had a big anti-vaccine protest rally, and he had spoken on his podcast how he wants to be at one of those, and she had so much trouble contacting him.
I'll bet.
Which apparently it's normal for the bunch of comedians. Like, they're great, they're super funny, super successful, and they can't they can't check an email. Like, they're just not.
Yeah.
It's not who they are. I get it.
Yep.
Like Norm Macdonald, R.I.P.
Oh yeah.
R.I.P.
I'm so sad.
F.
Okay. So
I got 3% battery. Anything left in this meeting?
I expect to have the sample legislation by next Saturday at the latest.
Or
Oh yeah, you missed the first half of the meeting, Drew. We are going to have a set
sorry.
of legislation for cities and counties to nullify the federal mandates from the 10th Amendment
Nice.
Center in a collab with a couple other lawyers. They're putting out their hot tracks together.
all right.
Next Monday is the third Monday, so it should be a city. I'll just try to go and get a feel for what's going on. I don't know if
Yeah.
anything will come of it, but I'll just try to see what
So
the
yeah,
vibe is there.
now is the time to start reaching out, hitting stuff. There's an event near you, go to it. It's like when we have our stuff, we're gonna need to hit this rolling. And I haven't been the best organizer to all you in Ohio. Apologies, but
We love
I'm
you,
gonna do it
Drake.
anyways.
I'm right there with you.
I'm the only one in like the Newark, Licking County area, right? There was one guy on here in a previous meeting, but I don't think he's here tonight.
Give me a sec. Let me pull up my master list.
Pascagoula. Okay.
What county did you say you were again?
Licking County.
Okay, I thought I have a lot of Licking County, don't I? I have a John Kruger, Nick White, and a Jared Hopple.
Okay.
Oh wait, Caleb, did you never fill out the survey properly?
Which one?
I don't know, the welcome one,
I thought I did. Was that when I first went through onboarding?
probably. Are you not? One sec. Oh, you did it back when we weren't actually, okay, that's why. I didn't copy everyone's counties over properly. So actually there are more people than they don't have on this list. I need to fix that. Like I said, not always the most organized. But yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff coming. Be ready. We're gonna do this. That is all. I'm gonna stop the recording.